confronted with unexpected triggers during the grieving process. Our solicitor's response tipped me over the edge. It was just a few weeks after the former partner had flown back to the UK to be with his new love of his life. He thought leaving me here in Spain to look after the property sale was okay. Only I was not okay. October the 5th, 2020. I received another long email from Phillip. His final words in the email told me he would go to court to evict me from the house. Be in no doubt that under those circumstances you will leave my house with absolutely no financial support whatsoever from me. His words. So this is the third time that I've been threatened with being thrown out of the property legally or unlawfully. I'm at my wit's end. It was bad enough that he ended our relationship the way he did, but now I'm being threatened with eviction and further emotional and financial devastation. My friends keep telling me to seek legal advice. I've tried, but to be honest, I seem to be getting nowhere with the solicitors I'm contacting. They either do not deal with the advice I'm seeking, or they don't get back to me. 14th of October 2020. I finally found a Spanish solicitor to have a face-to-face appointment. He listens to my story and part of the recorded meeting with my ex, but only up to the angry outburst where Phillip bangs his hand on the table and starts shouting and swearing while threatening to throw me out of the house. 13 minutes, 37 seconds into the 23-minute recording of a meeting. He tells me to stop the recording and asks me what he did then. So I explained. Then he gave me his advice, which was to file a gender violence denuncia against my former partner. I had been trying to communicate with our solicitor who had acted in the purchase of the property in 2015. I had hoped for cooperation or negotiation through legal channels. So I asked this new solicitor to help me by writing on my behalf to his solicitor. I thought that things could be sorted out. Only he repeated his advice that I needed to file a denuncia and I would receive free legal help, and then I would receive financial assistance and psychological support. He said, "Did you not hear what he said? You cannot negotiate with him." 16th of October 2020. I was still in shock and upset and could not think straight. I never thought for 1 minute that I would be told to file a gender violence complaint. Today was the day I was meeting a Spanish friend who could translate my statement at the police station. But I wasn't okay. I was shaking, very emotional, fighting back the tears, then having to wipe them away with a soft tissue as I was driving. I felt sick to my stomach. When I arrived at her house, tears spilt out as I told her, "I can't do it. I don't want to go to the police station." I backed out of making the complaint that day because I was scared of the consequences for both of us. So again, I wrote to his solicitor because I didn't want to go to court. I told him and his solicitor of the legal advice I had received. I had written in my email that I prefer cooperation to litigation. I know now that it was a mistake to communicate with my ex and his solicitor. I was writing to his solicitor thinking that maybe, just maybe, there could be a way of opening up discussion and cooperation between us. I made a huge mistake in writing that email. I informed his solicitor of the advice I had received about making the gender violence complaint. Reply from the solicitor, October the 19th, 2020. I received a response to my email correspondence. I was hopeful that there could be a way forward. I sat in the office and started to read his communication. I got to the end of the email. I was again thrown into emotional turmoil. I was shaking inside and very distressed. The solicitor warned me, "Be sure about your facts in your denounce, as it is possible to process with a denounce against someone It is possible to prosecute someone who made a false denounce. I tell you this and would like to insist, as there is a stream of colleagues that are keen in taking any problem for couples married or in partnership through this option to denounce, just with no real facts. A stream of colleagues? What sort of professional solicitors are these colleagues? Ones that will advise to file a gender violence complaint for couples married or in partnership with no real facts? Did he mean that solicitors would rather create conflict than resolve conflict because they will gain in monetary terms in representing their clients? He then proceeded to tell me I have no rights here in Spain and that it is different from the UK. Phillip will need to go to court, and in time I will need to get free legal assistance. Eventually, I will be asked to leave the house, and if not voluntarily, then the judge will order to do it by force. Is that what you want? These sentences cut through me like a knife. Again, I was thrown into fear, and I started having a panic attack and palpitations. With no one I could turn to, I rang the Samaritans in Spain. I was crying. I was emotionally in a very sad place. I really could not understand how this solicitor could write those sentences. After talking on the phone for just over 50 minutes, I was able to regain some composure. The solicitor also advised me to make a proposal. The thing is, I already made a proposal. I had sent my financial proposal to the ex on the 12th of September, the one that he rejected and would not even discuss with me. The solicitor did not know the facts of the situation. It was clear from his advice and his response that he was not prepared to help defuse the situation, despite my saying I preferred cooperation to litigation. I felt that the former partner had betrayed me and abandoned me and was now trying to destroy me emotionally, psychologically and financially. He was using the legal system and Spanish law to threaten me. I did not think that I had done anything to deserve the way he was now treating me after 11 years in a relationship. I had no job and no monthly income, and now I was being told I had no rights. Being told I would be evicted from the home I had lived in for 5 years, I was reduced to an emotional wreck again. I had been given 3 different financial proposals, none solid or binding, none with a reasonable time frame. 1 minute he was gifting me money, and the next I was going to be thrown out of the gates with just my suitcases. I call that emotional and psychological abuse. After I ended the call with the Samaritans, I decided to write a reply to the email I had received from his solicitor. My advice, again. I should not have communicated. It should have been another solicitor communicating on my behalf. Never attempt to resolve these conflict legal situations yourself. Always try to get a legal representative to write on your behalf. Of course, it is easy to say this now, but at the time, when I knew I had no stable income and had no idea if Phillip would honour the financial proposal or not, even worse when you're in a foreign country and do not speak the language. Firstly, I think the solicitor had assumed that my solicitor was somehow going to benefit financially from helping me with a complaint to the Guardia against my former partner, his client. This was far from the situation. Secondly, the solicitor knew nothing of how his client had behaved towards me. He had not heard the way I had been spoken to, the violent and angry outburst I had sat through at the meeting, which Phillip agreed could be recorded. The demeaning way he spoke to me, the threats of being thrown out of the property, the previous betrayal and emotional distress and verbal abuse. He had no idea of the sadistic sexual acts that I had experienced throughout the relationship, or how I may be in deep trauma. In the days that followed, I again tried to make contact with Phillip, and I left a few voice messages, but did not get any replies. I could not think straight at all. I had never been in a situation like this in my life. I was feeling very frightened, vulnerable, alone, isolated, and traumatised. In January of 2024, I launched a petition with Change.org to highlight that legal conflict in divorce or separation is never a good decision for couples, married or not. Some individuals can manipulate and abuse the legal system, not for a simple resolution, but for power, control, and inflicting punishment. This is my petition. Mandate legal mediation as a first option in separation and divorce. If this story resonated with you, please help and sign my petition and or share it with influencers. I thank you for any support that you can give. I also publish articles on my website at lifechangeplans.com. This is a short article rewritten from my first self-published book under my pen name, Loren Keeling.